Man, two streams in one day. So the Young Turks made a video about Glenn Greenwald and they snuck Jimmy Dore's name in there because they love doing that. And I decided I should comment on it. So this will be in the same format as the one I did before, where I play it and then I pause it to make my points. I also should mention before we get started that they like to accuse anyone that disagrees with them or is defending someone that they attack of being incentivized financially. I'm barely making anything on YouTube. In fact, I'm probably dooming myself to make even less because I'll get demonetized when they start swearing and that gets picked up in my audio track. So I have no incentive to make this other than I think a lot of their attacks are goofy and ridiculous. Now let's begin.
Is currently engaging in a little bit of a beef with Glenn Greenwald, who he accurately described as someone who's not really on the left. And he did so in an interview on Mediaite's podcast. Let's take a look at what Cenk had to say, and then we'll go to a very triggered Glenn Greenwald.
Mainstream media is disgusting in how they shut out progressives. In terms of the right wing, no. Brianna Joy Gray, unfortunately, is one of the people that are in the fake left. And so this has become a whole niche part of the industry. So Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, Brianna Joy Gray, and a couple of others in there that are, to be fair to Dave Rubin, he started this whole thing.
Okay, so by mentioning Dave Rubin, what Cenk is doing is trying to link a guy who actually I would say is fake as far as when he was with TYT, he said a couple of things, then he switched his support for other positions after he left with Greenwald and Dore, but it doesn't really work because the two of them haven't actually signaled a change in position. So Dore, for example, still supports single-payer healthcare, still wants to get out of wars. There's really been no noticeable change in his rhetoric other than going after TYT. So I'm just saying that it's a comparison that is not being made because there's similar positions between Dore and Rubin, but rather because they know that Rubin is considered, someone that betrayed the left and went to go make some money by peddling right-wing talking points about them, and is trying to infer that that's what Dore is doing as well. But he's also trying to make people forget that Dore's positions on issues are largely aligned with what progressives favor as well.
Fake left saying, "Oh, well, it's just I'm a classical liberal, I'm a progressive," but it turns out the right wing's right about everything. Okay.
So Dore has never actually said anything to the effect of the right wing is right about everything. In fact, actually, one of the points he made was that he is less inclined to make videos about Republicans because he thinks a lot of left-wing people attack them and at the same time make very little criticism of the Democrats or people that are more inclined to be on their side due to their party affiliation. But I just want to clarify, Dore, as far as I can tell, maybe somebody can send me a video clip, has never said the Republicans are right on everything. And has criticized them on policy issues. Like I said, he used to do a whole bunch of videos talking disparagingly about Trump. So I don't know where they're getting this from.
So that's the shtick that they do, and they go on Tucker's show and they dance for him, and so it's disgusting. They're not
okay. This is a really important part. So it was generally accepted that when people like Ro Khanna, for example, go on Fox News or some other right-wing news outlet, they're doing it because they want to, get some press because a lot of times they don't get invited on MSNBC, but they also want to expand the people who are seeing them and hearing the positions of someone that's on the left wing for the chance of getting their message out even further than, just sitting in the same bubble of MSNBC and CNN. What you need to understand is that, as far as I can tell, Cenk has never criticized Ro Khanna for going on Fox or any other progressive politician in the past for going on that network, which includes Sanders when he was running for president. He also did a town hall with them. So him going after Dore for going on Fox, but then ignoring when these other politicians, when these politicians go on there, I think is very hypocritical.
The real left. And here's how you can tell.
The real left.
They never disagree with Tucker.
And the Tucker.
By the way, there's a video and it's from several years ago. I don't have it on hand. I can maybe dig it up if I do an edited version of this. There's a video where it was during there was some controversy with Amazon about 2 or 3 years ago, and I distinctly remember that Dore played a clip of Tucker talking and disagreed with him on the way to solve it because Tucker suggested something about um again, I'm forgetting what all it was, but I remember in that particular video he disagreed with him on economics. And I'd imagine they do a lot of disagreeing on that. It's just usually when Jimmy gets brought on, they're talking about who might win an election, foreign policy. These are things that a lot of people who are left leaning and right leaning can sometimes find agreements on.
Tucker element of that is just so demonstrably true, and we'll show you in just a second. But Glenn Greenwald gets triggered anytime anyone critiques his appearances on Tucker Carlson. So he responds with the nation's single dumbest pundit. Let's pause for a second. Is Glenn Greenwald not the guy who referred to Tucker Carlson as a socialist? Maybe sit this one out, homeboy, but let me continue. The nation's single dumbest pundit, and I mean that literally and earnestly. There may be people more malicious, but there's simply nobody more stupid, more cognitively dense, decrees that Bernie Sanders, 2020 press secretary, is part of the fake left.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with him. And also, I should mention that you had Anna saying that she claims that Greenwald said that Carlson was a socialist. If you wanted to say that he was dumb for saying that, I would say that that was correct. As far as I don't agree with that labeling of Tucker, but at the same time, you have to remember there were a lot of pundits and people on the right wing who called Obama a socialist when he passed a right wing healthcare plan founded by the Heritage Foundation. So that's a label and a term that gets thrown around for people pretty much anytime they say something left wing. So it's not that big of a deal if he called him that.
So let me jump in now on a couple of things. So I just saw that tweet, by the way. He's to me, he's not so relevant. I hadn't even bothered to look at him attacking me. And
he's not so relevant. TYT, the same channel that has 5 million subscribers, but usually can't even get 100,000 views, are going to say that somebody else isn't relevant. That's hilarious.
So every once in a while he pokes enough that I have to, correct him. So in this case, who else?
And he doesn't actually have to correct him if he doesn't want to. People, if you're a big enough commentator or just online personality, you'll have people writing disparaging and or misrepresenting comments about you all the time. Like there are plenty of people who talk trash about Dore every single day on Twitter, and he doesn't respond to him. So he didn't have to respond to Greenwald if he didn't want to.
From the Bernie campaign is still talking to Brianna Joy Gray. So is it possible that someone from the left would then not be on the left later when they see that there's money to be made from right-wing viewers? So that never occurred to you, Glenn? That happened to you, Glenn. How could it not have occurred to you? And so he says that I'm dumb, that I'm a dumb pundit. Well, that's interesting because as you're going to see later in the story, Glenn and I used to agree on almost everything. When we were both progressives who criticized Democrats and Republicans, so does that make you the world's dumbest pundit, Glenn? Were you super dumb before? And over the last 2 years, as you become Tucker Carlson's best friend and kissed his ass on a weekly basis and ingratiated yourself in humiliating fashion to the right wing, did you become smarter? All of a sudden losing your progressive ideas and principles made you smarter? Is that what happened, Glenn? So you tell me, I mean, you said that I'm not intelligent and you and I agreed completely before. What happened? Yeah. Okay, so obviously.
So what gets me about this particular part of the video is that you notice how he never actually says what positions Greenwald changed his opinion on. Obviously, he had a personal falling out with Cenk. I mean, who wouldn't after Cenk attacked him following his defense of, referring to Greenwald, his defense of Dore. But notice he doesn't actually say what positions has Greenwald changed to now suddenly be the best friend of Tucker Carlson. Which, by the way, like I said, it's such a ridiculous, just insane thing to say that if because you go on someone's show as a commentator, when they have a lot of these Fox hosts and different network hosts have plenty of recurring guests, you're their best friend.
This is sophistry. And what it is it's an attempt to trick his new audience, which are honestly less intelligent. The right wing, they'll believe anything, right? So he's like, oh yeah, if you worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign, that means you never change your opinion later. And the right wing's like, yeah, that's right, that's so true. Oh.
It's really ironic to have him say that someone is unintelligent and will believe anything. Key phrase, believe anything. But then he believed the unsubstantiated, unproven allegations by Kasparian against Dore that he had harassed her. A year later, still no proof, nothing to show for this claim that was meant to be like a Me Too mini resurrection. So I find it ironic.
Oh, Glenn Greenwald used to be a progressive. And look at that, he says everything the right wing does is true now and correct, and they're godly and heavenly. It must be true, it must be true, okay? No, it isn't true, it's a trick.
Yeah, look, you triggered him because what you said is demonstrably true. And he hates when anyone critiques his appearances on his daddy's Fox News program. But look, just to answer your question, after he had made a career and a name for himself defending literal Nazis as a lawyer, he engaged in this like LARPing persona as a progressive. But in reality, I think he's always been questionable, and unfortunately, I didn't know about his past and I didn't know what he really stood for. He's not any type of intelligent political thinker. He just goes where he thinks the popularity is or where the money is, and we're about to demonstrate that right now. Now, later, Greenwald posted this old clip of Cenk, again, very old clip of Cenk with the caption, "Thank you, Cenk," and it's what you were referring to. Let's take a look.
Glenn Greenwald, he, I believe, is.
Also, I want to say this: who cares if the clip is old? If it shows you guys are hypocrites and saying one thing while having done the other, it's relevant. And to get back to the point they made about him going on his daddy's show, they still can't explain what is so bad about a journalist or a political commentator going on cable TV and making an appearance on a show of someone that they don't agree with or that they might agree with on a certain issue. That's why I said it's such a bizarre criticism, and they don't explain what is so incorrect about doing it.
Really the Noam Chomsky of our generation. I know that's strong words, but I think he's really earned it time and time again, pointing out the hypocrisy of the government, the media, being absolutely fearless about it, and some of just the best reporting there is literally in the world, if you ask me.
So Glenn tweeted that old praise toward him by Cenk, and Cenk responded with, "No problem, I absolutely meant it. That's why it's so heartbreaking to see what you've become now. To be a shadow of your former self being used as a convenient prop by the right wing is so sad to watch. I'm being serious, you were better than this. Jesus, have some self-respect." Well, he doesn't have self-respect, and as look, this is a perfect tweet demonstrating exactly what Cenk was referring to. They didn't even wait. They didn't even wait one day to prove Cenk correct. And it's 2 screenshots of tweets from Glenn Greenwald. I spoke last night on Fox about the extraordinary win by Myra Flores, 2022, I think, a nurse. That's right. A nurse married to a Border Patrol agent who is now the first Mexico-born congresswoman in US history, flipping an overwhelmingly Latino district, which in 2016 went to Hillary plus 16 points, red. So he's on Tucker Carlson's show to celebrate a congressional win by someone who flipped a typically blue district to red.
Yeah, I've got thoughts on that, but show Jimmy's too, and then I want to break it down.
Yeah, so let's look at that. Yeah, the great Jimmy Dore segment on Tucker Carlson tonight, calling out Joe Biden for blaming every disaster here at home on Putin.
Yeah, so that's not a tweet by Glenn, but it shows both. So the news broke that I said that they were the fake left. The very next day, both of them go on Tucker Carlson and insert themselves right in between his cheeks. And they never disagree.
You know, what is up with this like weird erotic dialogue? Like you have them saying he's his best friend, and then it turns sexual where they're talking about Greenwald sees Carlson as his daddy, and then now him and Dore are putting themselves between Tucker's cheeks. You know, that's why I said they're really creepy. And they get caught up on all this like mean girl stuff, and they don't explain what is so wrong about going on this man's show. But to go back to that thing of how he celebrated a red. I mean, look, I don't play party politics. I have some Republicans I like. I have some Democrats I like. I know, for example, that I was in favor of Collins getting her Senate seat back because I didn't think that what was it, Gideon, whatever that lady's name was. I didn't feel that she was someone who I could trust to vote in ways that I thought were beneficial. Like on Yemen, for example, I really like Collins on that, and she on a lot of foreign policy issues, I agree with her. So I'm not going to, on face value, say that Glenn has somehow been proven as a fake progressive because he supported a Republican over a Democrat. They don't even tell you what the positions of this person are. They just say this person had an R next to their name and they got supported by someone who's supposed to be on the left. They're a fake left. Like what is fake about him?
Never. You've got a fascist right winger in Tucker Carlson and a progressive on the left can't find a way to disagree with Tucker Carlson. How about the replacement theory? How about that one? How about a billion things he says that's mental and massively right wing? They're like, oh no, but Joe Tucker, you're so right about Myra Flores. You're so right about Latinos. They're no good Democrats. So
okay,
no.
So here's where the smearing comes into place. As far as I know, and maybe somebody in the comment section, or if they choose to join the live chat, can leave a tweet or not, or some other receipts. I've never seen Jimmy or Glenn say that they agree with Tucker on the replacement theory or on any social commentary of his. So this goes back to that thing of how you have a lot of people that watch TYT or watch some left-wing outlet, and they go and they watch their coverage of it without actually seeing the clips of these various interviews. And you can convince people that individuals who support, in the case of Dore, for example, single payer, ending wars, who actively talked about how much they backed BLM, you can convince people that someone like that is now a right winger, and they're tricking their audience, their million subscribers into believing that they're on the left. It's like, where do you even get this from? Do you have any receipts to show that these guys support this, as you call it, fascist stuff that comes out of Carlson's mouth? No, you don't. You just make things up because you don't like someone.
Oh, they're bad. All Latinos should vote for Republicans. You're so right, Tucker. You're so right, Tucker. Where's the money, Tucker? All right. And then Jimmy goes on, and what did he say? Oh, you're so right about everything else in the world. They're blaming it on Putin. Russia's not wrong, Tucker. You're right, Tucker. Russia's great. America's bad. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's all the Democrats' fault.
You know, what's really sad about that clip is that if he would have just, because I assume that if someone can easily prove another person has a position that would be considered off-putting or something that they don't like, they can pull up a clip of it, especially with their resources. Like they have guys that work in the tech room. They can say, hey, put up this video from his interview where he's agreeing with Carlson on everything and showering him with praise. But they can't. Notice how instead of playing clips like they played earlier in this same exact video, they just get caught up in like these weird impressions and just drivel. Like it actually show us the proof that when Carlson and when Greenwald and Dore go on Carlson's show, they're actually peddling these claims and these theories that are incorrect. Now, I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, let's say that Dore came on that show and said Biden is blaming everything on Putin, right? Let's just pretend that's completely true. We still need proof that he said he agrees with the replacement theory or with any other position that Tucker has espoused. And TYT is not showing it. They're hoping that their audience of people with, I call it Jimmy derangement syndrome, will take their word about him without any evidence. And then we'll just, say, oh, good job, guys. Great video. It's funny, too, because they criticize right-wing people as believing anything. But we don't. If you're the left wing and you believe so much in proof and evidence, where's the evidence?
The most obvious thing in the world. You get a couple of patsies who have no morals, who have no principles or decency, and you get them to dance for you. Hey, Glenn, show me you disagreeing with Tucker. Show me you having a debate with Tucker. Show me you having a fight with Tucker. Jimmy, you're pathetic. I don't even need to discuss Jimmy. Look, there is something
By the way, that's actually a tactic that's used, that when you don't want to show any proof of someone doing something wrong, you brush it away by saying, "Oh, everyone already knows how bad this person is. We don't need to give any brief overview or summary or examples." It's like, no, if Dore's done so much offensive stuff as it pertains to going on Carlson's show, you would be able to give us some examples, some proof. You would think, if it's so plentiful that this person, when he goes on this particular show, acts in a different way than he does on YT or in some other capacity, wouldn't you be able to show us proof that he acts that way instead of just waving it away?
Slightly disagree with Anna, which is that I think Glenn is smart. Okay, that's why I'm more disappointed in him. I think he was principled, even on the positions I disagree with him on. We had a debate now over 10 years ago where I moderated on the Young Turks, Glenn Greenwald versus Larry Lessig. Larry Lessig's a Harvard law professor, a godfather of the campaign finance movement. It was a really interesting debate. And Glenn Greenwald said, no, we should keep money in politics. Okay, that's an interesting point of view, but I thought that he meant it. And I think he's a smart guy. I think the Jimmys and the Rubens of the world are pathetic, totally pathetic. They'll do anything for money, and they're not at all smart, right? But Glenn,
I'm telling you, it's so funny that there's this one child, I'm not going to say his name, who said that Cenk's theory of politics is that if you disagree with him, it's because you're paid off by somebody. So, for example, if TYT were to cover this video, which they won't do, but if they were to cover it, they would say, "Oh, how much money did Dore slip him in his back pocket? They both live in the same state." Because to them, you can't just disagree with someone on something because you don't agree with it. There has to be some financial incentive. And he has the nerve to say that Dore is unintelligent, as if he's this like very brilliant political commentator. I mean, like what accolades does he have to show his intelligence? That's why I said, like, they get caught up in all these personal attacks, and they still, like, the people they're talking about are left relatively unscathed because they want you to believe in something that they're not even showing any proof of. If it was so obvious that Dore is this secret right winger, why can't you show me one clip of him supporting these positions that you dislike Tucker for having?
knows better. That's why it's disgusting when he dances for them. So show me all of your big critiques of Republicans. Guys, it's so easy to tell who's honest and who's not. We criticize both Republicans and Democrats. They only criticize Democrats and progressives and leave the right-wing Republicans alone. Now,
which is also not true. Like I said, you can go on Jimmy's channel, find any video about Trump, and you'll see that he was criticizing him. Again, to be fair, he doesn't do it as often as he used to. But like I said, I just think it's really bizarre that you have to always, every single channel run by a progressive, you have to criticize Republicans, Democrats, some commentators. Why does everybody have to do the same thing? Like, if I want to see Republicans gone after by a left-wing person, why can't I watch, I don't know, David Pakman or Secular Talk? Like, why does Dore have to also target this specific group that everyone already is talking about in a disparaging way? And he even addressed that before, that he didn't want to do videos on Trump because everybody else was doing it. So I don't understand that logic.
Now, I guarantee you as a response to this, that Glenn Greenwald will find a tiny little smidge where he criticized the right wing, a tiny little smidge when he criticized Republicans in the ocean of his content and go, what? I did it once or twice, kind of.
No, where? I mean.
Okay, so there we go. That's another example of them raising the goalposts. So first they say, they never criticize the right wing. They have no content that critiques Republicans. And then if they're able to show examples of them criticizing Republicans, oh, this is not enough. It's like, so you just raise the goalpost. If we don't criticize them, you say it's because we're on their side. Then if we criticize them, that doesn't count because it is not deemed by you to be sufficient enough examples of Dore and Greenwald being opposed to them. Man, 2 interruptions back to back.
I mean, he hasn't even.
I haven't seen it though.
He hasn't even done that.
Yeah, he hasn't even bothered to do that yet. So in the middle of them trying to do a fascist coup, Glenn, where they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence" and Trump was encouraging it, and they were going to destroy our democracy. You couldn't find a way to criticize Republicans. You couldn't find a way to criticize Trump or Tucker Carlson. You couldn't find a way. No, that's what proves you're fundamentally dishonest.
Yeah.
Oh, this ad's about to start playing. Let me mute that. I don't want to see that bird. I don't know why you would criticize Tucker for the Capitol storming. Like I thought the whole point of that was it was bad for Trump to go around and peddle that the election results were stolen. So now, like, because he was the president, so also a commentator on Fox should be held liable for that too. And again, why is it their responsibility to condemn these people? Like, for example, I remember when I did a video about the Capitol, I said, hey, it was bad that Trump said this. It was bad these people came up here and tried to hurt and, physically injure or assault members of Congress. This is not democratic. But I didn't take the time to say, this congressman said this commentator said that. Because why do you have to get caught up in the minutia of addressing each specific person who you think played some role in sowing the seeds for this type of thing to happen? Okay, let me turn the audio back on.
I think it's so abundantly clear where these people stand politically that like no one on the left genuinely looks at them and thinks like, oh, no, they're part of us. Like our group, our political ideology, they just come across as right-wing cranks, either chasing the money or possibly trying to hide something. I don't know. I keep thinking back at the fact that Peter Thiel and his company specifically spied on Glenn Greenwald. It was a huge story. And now all of a sudden, Glenn Greenwald carries water for Peter Thiel and literally works for a company.
God. I'm telling you, this is the only thing you can ever do where if you have a disagreement with someone, it's always because you're getting paid to disagree with them. You can never just have a genuine dispute. But I like how she says, I don't think anyone that is progressive actually believes. Well, I don't know. Dore didn't get 1 million subscribers for no reason. But you see how that's their way of like guilt by association, where if you see Dore as a progressive who, also criticizes some progressive politicians because he doesn't think they're doing enough, etc., you are not a real progressive because you believe he's a real one. I think that's really insane.
That is heavily invested in by Peter Thiel. What did Peter Thiel find about you and what are you hiding? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I don't care. All I care about is.
I care a lot.
Yeah, well, I hear you on that. So that's for.
Hold on. All these interruptions, man.
For journalists to figure out. But I do know the results. There's no question about the results. You used to hold the government accountable. You used to hold both parties accountable. Now all of a sudden, you don't. The Republicans are untouchable. The right wing are heavenly, and so you're dishonest.
Man, they just imposed so much rhetoric on him that he didn't even create. When did he ever say the Republicans are heavenly? So let it be known that if you're a left-wing person and you don't criticize Republicans, not just at all, but to the degree that TYT would like you to, you are supposedly someone who believes that they're heavenly and they can do no wrong, even if you've never actually espoused these positions. It just seems like they're putting a lot of words in his mouth. And what is this thing with Peter Thiel? Like, what does this have to do with him going on Tucker show? That's why I said a problem that these people have is that they call themselves addressing a controversy. Like, oh, the subject of this video is that Dore and Greenwald are going on Tucker's show, and he's a right-wing person, so they shouldn't go on there. And then there was a like spat on Twitter where everybody argues, so I don't even know why that's worth making a video on. And then on top of that, you move it to something about Peter Thiel and showing clips from 10 years. Like, what is this? You get how it always segues into these unrelated things, and they've been doing this for over a year now. Because I remember when the Jimmy controversy was going on, I was watching their stuff, and they were talking about him screaming at his wife, and he yelled at Ron Placone, and when he was there, he was, I mean, just all kind of unrelated crap, and that's why that Me Too allegation that Kasparian tried to start last year, it's based in that same mantra. When we can't defeat you on what you're saying and what you're doing is being wrong, we smear you. We say that you're like carrying water for somebody else, that you're going on this person's show because you've had this radical transformation in your positions, or you never believed it in the first place. It just gets completely malformed into something else for just, again, because they don't want to just say, oh, we disagree with this person. They have to assert the idea that this person's beliefs are illegitimate and that there's like a financial motive for why they do what they do. They can't just have a disagreement.
Is disgusting. And finally, what actually made me mad was this guy from Third Way jumps in. Here, let's show that tweet, okay? And so it's Matt Bennett, and he says, this is lunacy and Glenn Greenwald is horrible. But my more fundamental question is, why does Jake Uger get to call himself a young Turk at age 52?
Got him. Got him.
Whatever. I don't care about that. But the reason.
Okay, I don't agree with that at all. Like I'm on their side as far as that credit. Like 52 isn't that old. Whatever. I don't really have an issue with Jenk's age. Like I agree with him on like that tweet being goofy.
Third Way's are corporate Democrats. They get money from corporations and then they use it to corrupt the Democratic Party. They're the worst of the worst. But he saw that video from a decade ago and he's like, perfect opportunity. I'll put in all progressives in the bucket of Glenn Greenwald and the sellouts. So that when you hear a progressive critique of corporate Democrats, which is a great majority of the Democratic Party and Joe Biden and Pelosi and Schumer, you will dismiss it as if it's from the fake left, the guys who sold out to Tucker Carlson, like Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore. No, you don't get to play that trick.
How did they sell out to Tucker? Does he pay? Do you have any proof that he pays them? That there's some financial incentive for them to go on his show? That after appearing on his show, there's been some wide change in their positions? No, he doesn't. He just makes it up. And again, because he has a lot of people in his audience who don't actually do any research, they just eat and gobble this stuff up. God, it was the same thing with the Anna allegations, where it's like, if you don't like Dore, you just believe anything that is said about him. These two commentators have sold out by going on this other person's show. Oh, what's that? Democratic and progressive politicians and commentators go on Fox News too? Oh, complete radio silence.
No, the progressive critique of the Democratic Party is excellent. You guys are sellouts. You take corporate money from people like Matt Bennett day in and day out, and you sell out your own voters. It's disgusting. But it's possible to say that and also say the Republicans are doing terrible things and prove both. When you see anyone only taking one side and telling you how wonderful and amazing Democrats are, know that they're not telling you the truth, which by the way is the great majority of the mainstream media. Or you see others taking only the Republican side and never telling you what their faults are, Tucker Carlson, Glenn Greenwald, etc. Know that they are not telling you the truth. We actually cover the real news, and both parties make terrible mistakes and largely serve the elites and the upper class. Now Glenn and Jimmy and those guys are their servants. And it's pathetic. Thanks for watching.
Really wish you could explain to me what makes them the servants. You're a servant to the RNC, or I guess the Republican Party, if you go on Tucker's show, or if you go on Fox News. That's really crazy. I think every major left wing commentator I've watched has gone on Fox. Like I know that David Pakman went on there because they had him talking about North Korea at some points. I know that Kyle went on there. I'll never go on there because I don't have enough subscribers. But it's so weird that like if you disagree with them, you're not just like someone they disagree with. You're also a servant. You sold out to Tucker Carlson because apparently he's like going on his show is this big horrible act now. And then you're also working for the RNC. And that video was terrible. No, anti-Jimmy content is always some of the most despicable stuff on here. Just because people don't even like care to say things that make sense. They just attack somebody over having a disagreement with them. It's funny too, because this was supposed to be about Greenwald, and they still found ways to include Dore too. They were like, well, he also goes on Tucker, and we have a clip of him. That's how he's really going to end up being like one of the most important people in like the 2010s or 2020s progressive movement. Just when you get to the point where people are bringing you up and stuff that doesn't even have anything to do with you. That's all you need to know about how just much of an influence you've had. Like that's insane. They always agree with Tucker and they can never find fault. Well, I mean, if you're on his show and he's brought you on there for a specific topic, like let's say the war in Ukraine, why would you suddenly shift over to talking about how he needs to support the minimum wage? That's what I said. I feel like sometimes, and because these people like to throw out theories, so I'm gonna throw out my own theory. I feel like sometimes progressives get jealous of others, or like let's say I think if Dore had never initiated forced to vote and then gotten into conflict with Anna after she left that tweet on his stuff, I feel like this video probably wouldn't exist, or at least if it did, it wouldn't be framed in this type of manner. Because, like I said, politicians that are left leaning go on Fox all the time, and I've never seen. And I looked on their channel before doing the stream. I've never seen them go and try to say, "Oh, you were on Sean Hannity's show, you fake progressive." I've never seen it. And sure enough, if a right-wing person went on CNN or MSNBC, which I know are not actually left-leaning, but they're accused of being left-leaning by different people. If they went on one of those shows, nobody would say, well, this Republican is now a Democrat. No, because it's accepted that when you're a public figure, whether a commentator or a politician, and you want to get your message out there, you go on the shows or the platforms of people that invite you to make an appearance and speak on some topic that is considered serious. God, what a joke. I guess we could cover another video. Because I did want this to be like at least an hour. But I don't know if I want to. How long is that video? Let me see how it is. It's 18 minutes, 19 minutes. I guess we could play it.
Yeah, we'll just assume there could be no interference from the party.
Trying to pause this.
What do you want?
Yeah, that ad came on very quickly. So I'm gonna play this video by what's that goofy channel? By Sam Cedar, because he loves making videos on Dore. The background of this video is that there was an email put out by the People's Party about Dore considering a run for president in I think 2024. It could be that or 2028, whichever year. And Cedar and his friends decide to mock him over thinking he can win, or I guess the prospect of doing this. God, so many ads. I wish I could get this many ads played on my stuff. I'd be flowing with cash. And it's funny, they always accuse like Dore of having a financial incentive to say the things that he does. But if you look at their channels, when they talk about him, they get way more views than they usually do. I wonder why that is. I just think it's so weird that like because I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch TYT and they would talk about like Republicans vote for gun control because of the NRA. They vote against climate bills because of like money from fossil fuel companies. And now it's gotten to a point where if you're just a commentator, if you're just a guy that gets in front of a camera like this and says, "This is my opinion," etc., they think you're being paid by somebody. I'll be very shocked if this video doesn't get demonetized because all this swearing that they like to do, or some other, issue with playing their stuff, because they like to do that where you get in trouble for what they have to say.
People are organizing a draft Cedar campaign. I never speak of myself in the third party is the name of the campaign.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Draft Sam Cedar. I don't know. These are all rumors of a rumor. To run for the People's Party presidential nomination. The reason why I have to address this now, because I heard the rumor of the rumor. Well, I heard the rumor of the rumor weeks ago. And then I heard the initial primary rumor. And I wasn't going to address it. But yesterday, the People's Party came out with a document. And do I have a copy of it here? I know you just gave it to me and I can't even.
We have it up. We have it up here.
Oh, we can have it up there. Okay. Yeah. I think I have it here in my pocket too. Okay. Here we go. And I'm going to read what the Movement for a People's Party. Now, if you haven't heard of the People's Party, that is because they've only been around for 2 years and have been able to do not much. There's been a lot of controversy around its national chair. Their biggest claim to fame was the Force the Vote movement that they started. And I know there was a major protest that they had on the steps of the Capitol where I think at least
there were dozens of
people there. And
yeah,
they identified me as the primary reason why we do not have Medicare for all in the country.
Makes sense.
I think it's arguable.
I'd like to at least be identified as the secondary reason.
I mean, I think
I'm always getting short shrift.
You can't just jump right in like that. It takes a while to build that type of power.
I mean, you certainly have the ego to run for president on the People's Party platform.
I have some of the most thrilling news I've ever shared, writes Nick Brana, national chair of the People's Party. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Dore is considering a run for president with the People's Party.
That's news.
Whoa.
Oh, wait a second. God darn it. We've been discussing it with him and Steph. Here's the thing is that these guys, they're broadening the movement.
The brain trust.
Not only must you all know who Jimmy Dore is, you also should know that Steph is his wife and producer.
No need to include her last name.
No need to in any way
We're
contextualize.
all familiar.
There's Cher and there's Steph.
Oprah, Cher.
We've been discussing it with him and Steph for several weeks, and he's talking about it on tour and on his show.
So it's content for him.
He would be the most popular comedian ever to run. Okay. Now, I'm not sure how old Nick is. Maybe he's 12.
Okay, I'm not going to play the rest of that. I don't feel like sitting here for another 30 minutes. I don't know what else to say about them. They're just they dislike Dore so much, and yet they keep making videos on him and paying attention to him. And like I said, you have to be a very influential person to get like brought up. I mean, they cover him more than they do most senators or congressmen. That's how much he lives in their heads like rent free. I'm gonna skip around a little bit because I don't feel like sitting for this whole thing. We're gonna give them a little cameo.
Oh, sorry. Every time he's brought it up, the crowds at his show and in the live chat have exploded with excitement. Now, let's just be clear. The venues in which he's at, maybe 100, 150 people. I mean, they're comedy clubs. And people have come to pay money to see him, and they're in his chat because okay. So,
will he be reading my tweets on the campaign trail?
You specifically yours.
Mm-hmm.
I highly doubt that. Remember, they're the ones who are obsessed with him. How many Dore videos do you see about Sam Cedar? or any of these other commentators? Usually what ends up happening is they bring him up in something, and then another person tips him off to the fact that they're mentioning him, and then he'll respond to it in some capacity. But you wouldn't see him bring up Viglin's tweets, because the obsession is one-sided. They talk about him, not the other way around.
Oh, maybe if he wants to do well. Let's show him what an incredible candidate we think he would make and how much support he would have. Jimmy streams his show live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern.
Go contribute to the views.
Go contribute to the views, but it doesn't end there. Join us for a party in the live YouTube chat of his show this Wednesday and Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Post in the live chat encouraging him to run. Send him a super chat telling him why it's personal for you and how President Jimmy Dore could change your life. Matt, what is a super chat?
A super chat is when you pay money to both YouTube and the streamer for your chat to appear highlighted in the chat.
I see.
It's not an act blue link?
I see. Okay. So you...
if you remember, Kelly used to want us to talk about super chats a lot because the more you talk about them, the more people use them, and it gives us more money. But we thought it was gauche. So.
We thought it was a little bit gauche. I'm not a super chat. I don't have mind if you send a super chat, but that's just not the way we do things here. However, if you are a Jimmy Dore fan and you do not want me to run, send us a super chat and we will register that. But let me also say, if you are a Jimmy Dore fan and you do want me to run, send us a super chat.
Let us know.
Let us know. That way we can measure the level of support or non-support from Jimmy Dore fans.
I really don't understand what's so comedic about a group that he's affiliated with, who clearly share his positions, wanting people to come and watch him. And then, because with most of these people, it's a fact, they don't read regular comments. You write them a regular comment in their chat, they won't say anything, they won't address it. So the only way to actually get their position or opinion on something, or for them to acknowledge your comment, is to send them a super chat. So I don't understand what's wrong with a person who may be possibly considering a run for president, gauging the interest in their running from their supporters online by seeing how many will donate just to say, hey, you should run. I don't see the issue with that. Because to me, just because you have 1 million subscribers on YT, it really doesn't mean that much. Like you saw, Cenk is from a channel with I don't know how many. I know it was from several millions of subscribers. Okay, in 2018 or 19, and he ran for Congress and lost. I'm not saying that to insult him or make fun of him, but I am saying that just because you have a lot of subscribers, it doesn't mean you're going to win or that people even know who you are. Just regular people that don't watch YouTube and don't follow like the personalities of the people that discuss this stuff regularly. So I don't quite understand what's problematic or a joke about his subscribers in this hypothetical donating and saying he should run for president if they actually believe that and want to see him try and want him to know, because again, most of these people don't read regular comments, why he should do this.
If you are a fan of this show and you do not want me to run, send a super chat. That way we can gauge that. It's the only way that we can gauge this. If you are a fan and you do want me to run, send a super chat.
Yeah.
So that we can
make sure our pollster sees your super chat.
Now, however, If you find after
See,
doing
that's a really ridiculous comment there, because people who are not office holders or very well-known individuals like Trump, for example, tend to not have their name included in polls relating to running for office. So, for example, if I declare tomorrow that I'm going to run for a Senate seat, me, the private citizen that nobody's ever heard of, you're not going to see a pollster include my name, even if I was on the ballot on a series of people who are going to get supported, especially if I had just declared and wasn't on the ballot yet. So that's why it's so like bizarre to me that that would even be like a thing they would suggest as an alternative. Like, oh yeah, just tell show a pollster your super chat. Well, a pollster's not going to even be acknowledging a YouTube commentator in a presidential election. Heck, they wouldn't even acknowledge one in a congressional race a lot of times.
the super chat, that there's too many super chats and you cannot, your super chat is not stand up. Head over to jointhemajorityreport.com. Get a membership. If you feel that I should or should not run for president under the banner of the People's Party, or if you feel I should or should not run for president under any banner or at all, become a member of the Majority Report. If you feel that we are not responsive enough for that, please head over to the membership page and become a Sam Cedar member, which actually is it's $1,000. And maybe if you join enough times as a Sam Cedar member, you can actually decide
Democracy.
to run or not run. This is the way the democracy works. But let's just continue on here. Steph reads every super chat during the show, so Jimmy and thousands of people will hear your message.
That's super chats. Look it
Super
up.
chat. I've just written an article sharing why Jimmy would make such a phenomenal candidate and president. Read it below and use this link to share it on social media. Post it.
Oh my God, all these ads. Well, while that ad plays, they can get their extra 2 cents. I really don't quite understand what they're trying to criticize here. Oh yeah, I forgot they're part of the same group that believes that if you disagree with them on anything, it's always because of money. He's gonna have his subscribers send him a super chat saying they want him to run for president. Well, are they supposed to just write it in this comment section? You know, the more I think about it, the YouTube comment section is probably, for one of these bigger channels, it's the least effective way of actually getting them to address you. Like I've seen them like people that are larger respond to random guys on Twitter before they'll respond to a random comment in their comment section, because they don't care. They're just, you know, that's just how these big channels are. But if you want to levy that criticism at Dore, you could levy it at all the other ones. I've never seen someone leave a comment on a TYT video and then they're like respond to that. Never. Only time any of these people respond is when it's a super chat, which is why I said if he wants to gauge support for his campaign, this potential campaign, I should say, by having people donate to and then state that they want him to run, I don't really get what is wrong with doing that. But I forgot they're the same people who think it's like the worst thing in the world if somebody makes money off of talking about the news.
Raise the People Party to say, spam your email list with me? Or do you think the money flowing the other way? Do you think that the People's Party get a cut of what Jimmy makes on the super chat?
It's hard to say. It's interesting that they were accused during a Force the Vote by some of this being a purely online podcaster and YouTube-based campaign that didn't really make sense or have connections to organizations on the ground. So now that they launch a potential political exploratory Jimmy Dore 24 committee, that it is also in the form of YouTube donations and social media activity.
I do appreciate the People's Party essentially going out and reaching out to a millionaire to become their nominee. But
God, there we go with that money stuff again. Okay, so they start the conspiracy theories. They say, it's interesting that maybe the People's Party might get a cut of the money that Dore gets in his donations. And then they shift it over because then they say, I find it funny that they would go to a millionaire. Well, maybe you've been living under a rock for the last 10 years, but Sanders is a millionaire. Now, he wasn't when he ran the first time in 2016, but the second time around after he wrote his best-selling book, he was. And I don't really understand, and I'm just going to tell you an unfortunate truth about politics. If AOC is ever able to successfully become the Democratic nominee, whether that's in 2024, 28, 32, 36, 40, she's probably going to be a millionaire as well. It's a proven fact that when people enter office and they're there for multiple years and they get all these book deals and public speeches and private speeches too, they become richer. And I don't really have an issue with, like, how does someone being a millionaire disqualify them from being able to make good points about how screwed up the government is? So I said it's hypocrisy. It's this weird obsession that these people have with money, because apparently everybody's allowed to be rich except for Dore for some reason. So I don't quite understand.
But as we know, there is no doubt. I mean, I haven't read the bylaws of the People's Party, but is there any doubt?
Well, you might want to look at those closely.
Is there any doubt that the bylaw, I mean, is it bylaws or terms of service?
Yeah, it seems like terms of service. You got to sign an NDA and do whatever Nick Brana wants you to do.
Well, look, I am sure, I have faith that the People's Party has open primaries. How could they not?
We'll just
Of
assume
course. Without any DNC interference.
Yeah, we'll just assume there could be no interference from the party bigwigs.
She's saying that as if the DNC, as if like damn near every person that supported Sanders didn't think the DNC did something to screw him up for Clinton. Like I guess later on Biden. It's like what point? That's why I said they make all these like little references and comments, and because of how vague they are, you never know what they're trying to imply. Like he says DNC she says DNC interference. What point are you trying to make? I don't quite understand. What is that supposed to allude to?
We need to fight the triopoly. And so this is an open primary, and I am not going to confirm or deny that I am aware of the rumor about the draft Cedar campaign for the People's Party. I am not going to
Evasive.
I am not going to comment on whether I would accept the nomination if nominated. I'm not going to do any of that right now. Right now, I'm focusing on this job.
Yeah.
I have promised the people who listen to this program that I will do this show, and I will continue to do it to the best of my ability and make a decision on this at a later date. But I would recommend to you that if you have the opportunity to give us a super chat, that you do that for the sake of democracy.
Or you could just tweet hashtag draft Cedar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a Cedar.
Is that the right hashtag?
Hashtag draft Cedar. Yeah.
Hashtag draft Cedar.
Draft Cedar.
Yeah, we'll just see. I mean, we will leave it up to the democracy of Twitter and super chatting, which is, how democracy is measured, especially within the bylaws of the People's Party. Then that will be the determinant. Yeah, exactly.
I just want to, while we're talking about the People's Party and Nick Brana and Jimmy Dore, remind people of this tweet from last December, from Christmas. Nick Brana this is what he was doing on Christmas, was watching Jimmy Dore debates. And he said, a whole other side of this debate is the huge incentive that governments have to exploit COVID to expand increasingly authoritarian powers. Now that we all know turned out to be baby-brained or boss propaganda disguised as like sort of radical speak. Like a few weeks later, those folks were telling these Chicago teachers that they were fear-mongered by Fauci for not wanting to go to work sick and teach those kids because we got to go back to normal now. It's just a cold. So yeah.
I don't even know where he's going with that. Anyways, I just thought it was really insane that they would actually try to make fun of this as if they're, because I always think about when I used to watch Jordan Chariton, and he mentioned how a lot of people who criticize Sanders and other progressive politicians don't actually do anything themselves. They don't run for office. They don't join a union. And if Dore wants to run, yeah, he's probably going to lose because that's just how these third party runs are. But I mean, it would still be an example of him doing something that a lot of other individuals online who claim to be disaffected and dissatisfied with the way Congress or the U.S. government works, tend to not do. And it's so weird to see them trying to like critique the People's Party for attempting to measure if there's any support for this through super chats. Because, like I said, none of these people read regular comments, except for yours truly. And they, I don't quite understand what's wrong with just like it. That's why I said everything about critiquing Dore can be framed in two ways. You launch personal attacks. You spend a little bit of time on the issues, but for the most part, you launch personal attacks, and you try to always say there's a financial incentive. So it's personal attacks, which I guess you want to include that in the financial incentives part. You could have like merged the two, but it just seems like there's always the same couple of schools of thought of how to critique this man. It just to me is sad that we can't have a legitimate discussion on policy. Like they did this whole video not addressing a single thing about, hey, if Dore actually did run against, let's say, primary Biden, because Biden said he wants to run again, maybe he could challenge him from the left. You just had Sanders come out and say he doesn't want to do it, so maybe we could see a person who wouldn't run in the Democratic primary, but would certainly try to do something in the general election. Maybe we could see him actually try to challenge Biden in some capacity that the rest of these other people are. But something like that would actually entail them saying something positive or decent about, or something like optimistic about this potential candidacy. And when you're part of the the Dore smear crew, that's not what you're going to do. So thanks for watching. I'm glad I did this because I feel better about when they just start saying goofy, ridiculous stuff and I don't see anybody else talking about it, I feel a compulsion to say something.